The flat Earth model. If the Earth isn't as spherical as we assume it to be, what do people who believe in a flat Earth model think the Earth looks like? Do they believe it's a simplified box, a rectangle, or a triangle? Let's try to understand their perspective on the Earth. Warning: what you're about to read might challenge your beliefs, so be prepared to let go of your preconceived notions and mental programming. Imagine this. The Earth is a circular disk, similar to a dish, with the Arctic at its center and the Antarctic continent at its edges. The Antarctic continent surrounds the entire Earth disk. Doesn't that look like the emblem of the United Nations? Let's open our minds and consider the possibility that this is the real shape of the Earth. Now, think about the shape of the land we live on. Does it look strange to you? Don't rush to judgment, because what you're about to learn may surprise you. If the Earth's land is truly flat, then why doesn't water fall off the edges? Have you ever seen images of the frozen continent of Antarctica? No doubt you're picturing beautiful penguins and backpackers waving their country's flags. But can you imagine the beaches in Antarctica? Probably not, because images of penguins, backpackers are more common than images of beaches. Which is towering ice barrier. The ice barrier that encircles the Earth's disk serves as a barrier to keep water in, similar to the edges of a dish. It's interesting to think about what lies beyond this wall. Why haven't we flown over Antarctica to prove that it's just the southern pole of the Earth? Surely, thousands of researchers must have done this already. It's hard to imagine that this hasn't been done before. It's strange that flights between Australia and South America don't take a shortcut over Antarctica, which would be a more direct route. Nobody knows what lies beyond the ice barrier, and nobody has been able to penetrate it. It's not just the southern pole of the Earth, but rather the edges of the flat Earth. Whenever anyone ventures beyond the ice barrier, they are met with darkness and extreme cold. If it were simply the Earth's pole, there wouldn't be such a natural inhibitor. The adventurer would quickly find themselves on the other side of the Earth, where there is light and heat. Despite this, no one has ever made it to the other side. The largest scientific missions attempted were the four led by Admiral Richard Byrd, which involved thousands of soldiers, planes, and ships. They discovered a large area of uninhabited land the size of North America with hot springs and mountains, which they described as the other end of the Antarctic. However, this doesn't make sense, because the other side of the Earth, based on its location, would be the Indian Ocean. This suggests that there is an entire undiscovered continent waiting to be explored. Interestingly, some people have used this same mission to support the Hollow Earth theory. After Admiral Byrd's final voyage, Antarctica was closed off by the International Antarctic Treaty, ATS, which was signed in 1959 by 8 countries claiming ownership of the continent. The treaty pledged to halt any territorial claims and to prevent anyone from entering the continent except under international supervision. Later on, most of the world's nations joined the treaty. Interestingly, both the United States and Russia conducted remarkable experiments after Admiral Byrd's expedition, launching nuclear missiles directly into the sky in a project called Fishbowl, also known as Dominic in the United States. Some researchers speculate that Dominic means Lord, which makes the full name of the operation Lord's Aquarium. According to researcher Dave Murphy, this may have been an attempt to test the edge of the dome, which Admiral Byrd may have reached. So, what's the story behind this dome? We said that Antarctica is a barrier that wraps around the edges of the Earth's disk. It is a mysterious world that has led some to speculate that beyond the ice, there are other lands with different suns. However, the prevailing view is that Antarctica's outer boundary is the beginning of an enormous celestial dome from which nothing can escape. This means that we live on a flat, covered disk, and nothing can pass beyond this cover. This is clearly demonstrated by the Dominic process. The images of the explosions show that the rockets did not enter space but hit a roof. It is evident from the images and video footage that the explosion occurred downwards instead of upwards, as is commonly known. Furthermore, in 2014, a group of amateurs launched a simple camera-mounted rocket called Go Fast towards the sky. When it reached an altitude of 117 kilometers, it suddenly stopped as if it had hit a ceiling, which was not solid. Returning to Antarctica, let us embark on a process of free thinking to determine whether it is the southern pole of a spherical planet or the edge of the Earth's flat disk. Apart from the above, there is an easy way to prove it: to take a journey around Antarctica and measure its entire circumference. Scientists estimate that its coastline is about 20,000 kilometers long. However, the first explorers who attempted to circumnavigate Antarctica, including Captain Cook and James Clark Ross, reported in their scientific memoirs that their journeys lasted between 3 and 4 years, during which they traveled a distance of 80,000 to 96,000 kilometers. This can only happen if Antarctica is much larger than a simple disc-shaped rim that surrounds the Earth. So, if the Earth is indeed a flat disk covered by a massive barrier, how have spacecraft been able to cross this ceiling? Is there such a thing as outer space? How do the Sun and Moon rotate? How does the succession of night and day occur, as well as sunset and sunrise? And what about the 4 seasons? What about the stars and the thousands of satellites that orbit the planet? How can all of this be a lie? And how can we overnight discard everything we have learned and known throughout our lives? However, when we realize that all of Copernicus' views also turned into scientific principles overnight, and that he did not make even a small mistake despite the lack of accurate scientific research capabilities in his era, the alarm bells are ringing in our minds. The important thing is that we have finished explaining the strange shape of the flat Earth model according to its believers. And now we are ready for even more strangeness to come.